Hey, it's Nikki. We have a podcast on our network called Working Forward. It's all about future of work topics. And there's a special series that we do in the People Forward Network community, myself with our Chief Strategy Officer, Jason Cochran, and we break down the inner workings of People Forward Network and how we're doing some things to really model the way of what it's like to lead and live out what it means to be a people forward organization. So I hope that you enjoy the special bonus episode that I recorded with my dear pal, Jason Cochran.
Welcome to Working Forward Conversations, a special live, unfiltered episode hosted inside the PFN community where we explore bold, working forward ideas we adopt and use here at People Forward Network. Enjoy. Happy Wednesday, PFN community and Working Forward listeners. It's time for another Working Forward conversation with our CEO and Chief Meaningful Work Officer at People Forward Network, Nikki, Lewallen, Gregory. Nikki, how you doing today?
Working Forward Wednesdays.
There you go, alliteration.
I've never said it that way, but I really like it. And I always look forward to these conversations with you, Jason. So I'm good. How are you?
Good. And I love that. Working Forward Wednesdays. We're going to have to put that on all of our stuff. Doing really well. I'm excited about this topic. And this is one. So today we're going to be talking about wellness isn't a luxury. It's a leadership requirement. I really feel like you and your husband, David Gregory, you are like two of the top people I think of when I think about wellness and things that you put into your life to focus on it, not only from the work perspective, but from the personal life perspective, from the mindset shifts to how you're talking about, talk to yourself throughout the day in your mind. So I'm really excited for this conversation to hear the things that you put into practice, the things that we try to do at PFN with our team to help everyone just to be able to manage a lot of stuff going on in the world, even outside of work, that this topic of wellness is like really top of mind. It feels like for everyone that someone is saying, I need some help in this area, whether it's managing work-life integration, dealing with life stress, whatever it might be. So this is a timely topic. So let's go ahead and go there. Let's talk about wellness isn't a luxury. Let's start with this. When you think about wellness, kind of what is your definition when you start thinking about and talking about wellness? What comes to mind for you?
Can I just say, Jason, I love these organic conversations because we do a little prep, we think through the topics, and then we lay out some initial thoughts. But every single time we jump on, you tee it up and I'm like, oh, I see exactly where we can go to kick this off. So thank you for whatever magic you're doing there. Thank you so much. I think, to your question around what is wellness, I think health. And when I think health, I'm like alive, right? Healthy. And then what started to come to me before you asked what is it is at the micro perspective, what is it? Because you said David and I think micro, our individual selves, my husband, my home. And then mezzo, it's like our team, our culture, our leaders in PFN. And then macro, the organization of PFN as a whole, how it's impacting a ripple effect of health and vitality and betterment on the world, right? Until we hopped on here, I hadn't thought that way, but I typically do think like micro, mezzo, macro. So if we think around that definition of health and alive, thriving, we'll kind of go there with the micro, mezzo, macro, but I'd love to hear your definition first.
Yeah, the life wheel, the thing that you've exposed me to really help expand my awareness of this, that there's an aspect of financial wellness or health. I love that you're kind of using health interchangeably with wellness, that there's a financial aspect to it. There is a social emotional aspect to it. There is a physical component to it. There is a nutritional component to it. There is a work-life integration component to it in terms of how work comes into your life. And so it really is a multifaceted thing that sometimes it feels like it's a nebulous type thing. It's mentioned so many times, but when you really dig underneath the surface, you start to see that there are many different compartments that comprise this overall concept we have of being healthy or being well. We're going to be talking primarily, I think, through the lens of like work. Work is a third of what you do as an adult. And we're going to talk about ways at PFN that we really try to lean into wellness to support our team members and having a work culture that promotes that. But I do think it's important to reiterate to the listeners that yes, work is a big component of your wellness, but there's a lot of other things too that go into that, from the financial to the relationships you have outside of work too. And so it's this pursuit of thinking about, what does ideal wellness or health look like for me, and having a plan for it, instead of it just being something that day to day, you don't want to feel like just a victim of circumstances or just blowing in the wind, but be like, I got a plan,
Yeah.
regardless of the stuff that might be coming my way. Some days are going to be more challenging than others. There's going to be some days I feel more well or healthy than others. But I think sometimes just knowing that you got a plan is like more than half the battle. What do you think?
Yeah, so good. So kind of leading down this path, our topic is wellness isn't a luxury, it's a leadership requirement. And how we do that from our individual selves, leading our team and then the world as a whole. And then you brought in some different facets when you were putting your definition together there, Jason, of physically well, financially, emotionally, mentally, relationally, as we try to embrace AI in our everyday as like our co-pilot and help me take the words that we're saying here and bring this into what Jason and I are, trying to do, is put this into a definition. That's what I just did here with my handy dandy chat GPT. Is to be well in all of these areas means having sustained capacity to show up as our best selves, physically, emotionally, mentally, relationally. And so I think takeaway number one is, as a company, you're the leader of a company. For your company, define it. What is that definition for you? It doesn't
Mm,
have to be this one. But I think from what we were saying, and then Chat GPT was capturing our words there. And this is how it spit out. And I think this is us, is to be well and sustained in our capacity to show up as our best selves in all of these different areas. So looking at that from leading well from a micro perspective, let's talk about that for a few minutes. We have to put our oxygen mask on for us first before anything, before you take care of, the others around you. We were talking about that on Friday on another session in the community with Conscious Habit for your business. You have to put the oxygen mask on your business before you can take care of your customers, right? So individually, what is our recipe for helping our team members holistically care for themselves, right? And some examples, we have different team members that are passionate about health. Like I'll shout out Chelsea, our head of operations, and we have Slack as a main channel for communication, and we use that every day as our mainstream. Many times, Chelsea's using her passion to share a new recipe or the newest Costco organic deal, right? Or whatever. And then
yep.
helping us all to be in that together, where it's not like, oh, I put my hat on to work, but I'm not worried about making sure I'm getting my exercise or eating right. Like making it a cultural norm that we are sharing in that, having team discussions, putting it on Slack because we care about like the physical well-being, for example. Thoughts about, other things that we're doing individually, Jason, that we could share examples?
Yeah, I love that. And that example of Chelsea, because she does. She is kind of like our mother hen on the team that's reminding us of like good nutrition. And I'm going to have a moment here where I stop, like I hop in the confession box with you here, Nikki, and I say, I'm probably our worst team member at following any of that advice. I just eat whatever, whenever. I can play the excuse card of like, it's just part of living in a house with 4 boys. But no, I've been like that before Rachel and I had the kids. My mindset has been, and this is probably not the way to go about it, I work out so that I can eat. And so I'm like, hey, I'm going to come at it from the other end of like, hey, I need to do 100 push-ups so I can have like that little brownie. Cool. Let's do it
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Well, Jason, you model the way really well of taking breaks in your day to
That's it.
schedule. You are modeling the way for the team on making sure to work it in your day because you've shared before. You're like, with 4 little kids and the crazy schedule, my wife, once when I'm done with work, I'm on dad duty. And so I have to figure out how to
That's
fit
right.
it in. Jason can't be his best at PFN if he's not physically taking care of his health, right? And so we're like, and then modeling the way for us. That's a micro example, right?
That's exactly right. And we know where I'm not saying no to Twinkies. So it's like
Yeah.
something's got to get, so I got to hit the gym during the day. And that's the beautiful part of the flexibility at PFN. So it's like a lot of times it doesn't take fancy stuff. It's just listening to your people, giving them the autonomy, and but saying, this is really important. We want you to take care of yourselves. And it might look different for Chelsea. She may be focusing more on like the intake of what she's putting in her body. I may be like, for me, the wellness piece is more of like, I want to be able to go work out during the day. And so a lot of times in Slack on our thing, on the status, I'll put like a little weightlifting person and be like, I'm weightlifting during this time. And so I love that we all have that flexibility to do that. I want to share one more example too. This is kind of impromptu, but what you shared reminded me that our very own Megan Weatherford had a post on LinkedIn last week about wellness. And I just want to read it because it ties into this conversation really nicely. And it's another example of a team member at PFN and what they did and took the steps to do for their wellness last week. So listen to this post from Megan Weatherford from our team. Rest isn't always a full stop. Sometimes it's a quiet decision to do just enough. That was me last week. I kept things moving, but barely. It wasn't a vacation and it wasn't burnout. It was that middle ground where your body says, please slow down. And this time, I listened. I meant to hit the ground running this morning, but even my Aura ring is raising a red flag. My body is still under stress, and I'm choosing to honor that instead of pushing through it. Here's what I've been sitting with. How powerful it is to be honest with clients about where you are and to be met with flexibility and trust. That doesn't happen by accident. I think it's a mix of two things. I've chosen to work with kind, grounded people, and I've spent weeks, months, even years showing up for them with care, consistency, and follow through. They know I'll get it done. They know I want the best for them, and they trust that, what's required of me, I'm going to be at my best to do. That kind of mutual respect in relationships, that's everything. And so then she asks, how are you taking care of yourself? But I wanted to give a shout out to Megan because I think it ties into this conversation really well and is another color of like, she noticed she's wearing the Aura ring. She could tell some things. She was like, I need to slow down for my wellness.
Mhm. Oh, that's so good. Shout out to Megan. Thanks for modeling the way. I love that. Made me think of Ashley's update yesterday. We were sharing some kind of, I don't know, sharpening techniques for things that we've applied to make us better. So actually that's an example at the mezzo level. We'll come right back to it. But her micro, like what she's working on for herself, is setting timers to take breaks. Go take a 10-minute walk, get away from the screen. And I was like, me too. Like, I thank you for the reminder, because I put a sticky note on my desk that's sitting here right now so that I'm doing more of that. And it rippled onto me. Before we move on to the mezzo, you had mentioned, thank you for the compliment about David and I. We share a lot of personal practices like our morning routine and meditation, using an Apple Watch and getting our points on our Apple Watch and holding each other accountable. But there's a lot of those practices as leaders, figuring out your recipe book. What are they for you? Sharing with others, picking up a tip here and there, but making sure that you're taking care of you, oxygen mask to be able to be that best leader. And then going over to this mezzo level, if we look at the middle level of impact, if you will, from a wellness practice perspective, yesterday we opened up our team meeting with an icebreaker around, I forget exactly how it was phrased, but a betterment technique, a new thing that you've learned and you're applying that is making you feel better. It's making you more efficient, whatever. And that right there, we got to take away different parts. And that's an example of team collaboration around well-being, helping us to use our time better, or take those breaks or be held accountable. A couple of other things. And then Jason, I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on the, how we do this as leaders in our team, team rituals that protect energy. So, we have a 4.5 day work week. Everyone has the option for their half day off, and we just kind of give each other heads up and block our time, but we're protecting blocks of time so that we're not just meeting or go, right? That's a ritual for our wellness at People Forward Network. Another would be asking for help. I shared I need help this week in a couple of different areas, and it's one of our culture codes. And our team, that's a norm for us as a team collaboration. Jason, you could attest to this. If we throw out on Slack, here's something I need help with, you got a lot of people jumping in right away.
You swarm.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us more about your thoughts on leading well at that, team or culture level. Thoughts?
I love our culture code. You just pointed out some of those specific things, life work integration, asking for help. All these things go back to wellness. It's how we live out values at People Forward Network. And I think that's the thing is all the stuff we're talking about, Nikki, when it comes to wellness, it has to do with habits, right? Some of it has to do with mindset. Like I know you mentioned before, I love David starts his day. He'll get out of bed and he'll be like, thank you for this day. And I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
But that's a habit that he's built over time, right? I think most people probably aren't just naturally, without developing the habit of doing it, doing that. If you are, I love that. I love that you're doing it. But it probably took a little bit of discipline and a little bit of work to get in that habit. And these things like culture code inside an organization, those are the types of things that people can remember and that you consistently do that eventually they don't become like autopilot type stuff, but they become part of like your operating system, not only as a company, but how people really frame up and think about the interplay between work and life. And it gives the space for wellness to be expressed and gives them the autonomy to do the things they need to do. If you're a Meg and you're like, I can tell it's off today. I had all these
Mhm.
things planned, but I just need to take like this day off or maybe this next day, and we'll come back to these things. If it's the nutrition thing, like, oh, I know that I've gotten off the bandwagon here a little bit. I need to eat better. If I need to get the exercise in, if I need to ask for help for something, I'm feeling like this particular task or project is getting away from me or whatever. Like those little habits and those reminders sometimes, that's all it takes is a little nudge or reminder sometimes from your teammates. And that's why I love that when we do our team meetings and our pull-ups together, that we reinforce and remind each other of the culture code and the values because you can get so busy and so far down in the weeds on your tasks and projects that sometimes you need each other to help pull each other up and be like, hey, remember, ask for help. It's what we do
Yeah.
here. And it just feels like you brought up AI earlier. And of course, you know me well enough by now, Nikki, that I'm an eternal optimist when it comes to AI. I absolutely think that it's going to help us eradicate disease, that it's going to help us solve world hunger, that it's going to help us colonize other planets, that it's going to help us clean up this planet. I see limitless opportunities. But I'd be remiss if I also didn't say this isn't scientific, but just it feels like with so many people that I know in the circle, even people that love AI and are using it, that it feels like it's going so fast that it feels like just constantly grasping and searching and looking for things that sometimes it's hard to feel grounded and it's
Yeah.
hard to feel connected at times. And I do think that's kind of a new phenomenon that we're starting to experience, all of us, both in work and personal life, is the more that we start to use AI, and I think there's a lot of good uses for it, but I think it also can be one of those things that can be a distraction that can get us starting to build new habits that might not be healthy for us and take us away from existing habits that have to do with health and wellness. And one of those is Vince Freeman, our good friend, posted today about, the importance of still connecting human to human. So all that to say, it does come back to these habits, I think, that we build. And we're kind of in a unique time period in the course of human history of dealing with AI as well. Can be a major distraction sometimes of helping us stay on our path, but it can also, if we're really smart with how we use it, it can also help us develop those habits too, I think.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm just talking personally, like sometimes I find myself getting a little too distracted and maybe being a little too reliant on it at times. Funny story with that. Whenever our oldest son, it was time for kind of like the birds and the bees talk. I was like, let me use ChatGPT to kind of help with this conversation. I thought that it was funny. My son thought it was funny when I mentioned it to my wife. She was like, you what? That's a conversation you should struggle through and you should be thinking through on your own and stuff like that. And I was like, that's an interesting perspective. I'll
Yeah.
think about that.
Yeah.
But I'm still glad that I used it to help me because I would have fumbled through it.
Right.
Kind of saved me some of the awkwardness.
Yeah.
But I think there
You
was a
were
lot of,
reading a script, right? Like you were using it to guide your thoughts and help you be more confident
yeah.
delivering it. I think it'd be one thing if it's like, all right, buddy. So, and you're, reading it out or something. It's not even your original thoughts, but I hear. I mean, and that's the, not to take us over in AI land because we could talk about that forever. So relevant right now, but are we using it in a healthy way, as staying true to who we are to tie into like this topic today, right?
Exactly. Exactly,
Yeah.
Nikki. And thank you for bringing it back. But it does feel like sometimes it does play into this wellness thing now, which is really interesting. But I know we only have a few minutes left. So I want to kick it back over to you. What are the other things that we should really get into here around wellness isn't a luxury? It's a leadership requirement before we get ready to wrap up today.
Couple of things at the macro level that we haven't talked about just yet. One of our team culture codes from kind of 2 points here. how we make decisions, and then the grand impact that we're looking to make is rooted in serving the greatest good. And so our business isn't just here to, I mean, take care of the team members and make sure that we're serving our mission. It's beyond that. And I think having a connection point where all of us as a team, we're like, this is something really special, way bigger than us. That connection in our business is wellness. Like we are making a way bigger impact than, the profits that we're making, or, making sure we're doing right for our clients. But even bigger than that, one of the ways that we look at serving the greatest good is where we're volunteering, where we are maybe sometimes giving of our time. It's not charged. And because someone really needs this, like we actually do a lot of that. And I think that that's just an example there. Another is these sessions, Jason. No one's paying us to do these. We're doing these really to share what we know because we want to take what we know and learn from others. It's a macro example of we're just doing the inside out once a week for 30 minutes to share what we're doing because we want to contribute our part to changing the engagement statistics that are curable and the workplaces that are traumatizing for people. We really want to live to our mission. And so no one's necessarily paying us to do this. This is something that we're like, we want to put more of this out into the world and share what we're doing. Somebody else that does that incredible is our friend Chad Peterman Brothers. They bring people all across the country in for free to walk around and see everything they're doing, to share, and
including their competitors. They bring their competitors in.
That is a macro level healthy thing. It's incredible. It's abundant. Jason, you're working on a client partner health tracker, right? Like to kind of keep our eye at the very high level on who needs us most. Like we want to spend our time where it's needed most. A way that this could be an idea for PFN, I just popped in my mind, is a health tracker for our team, like making sure that we have a kind of global understanding of where everybody's at. Burnout's such a big thing. And we want to make sure that we're seeing the really big picture of, are there trends right now with people really need X? And we wouldn't know that if we didn't have this health tracker. I don't know what that looks like, but it's just making me think of an idea. So yeah, this has been really good. And I think it all starts with, as a leader, understanding what is wellness to you, what is it to your company, what is it to the grander world in which you impact. And then you have those definitions, and then that's where you can take it and bring this to life on, okay, what are we doing individually to support our wellness here? What are we doing from a team and a culture to support our wellness here? What is this business doing to serve the greatest good that we can? Obviously, within reason, we could go off on a tangent, do all kinds, or to stay on track with our business, but how is it tied to something so much bigger than us?
That's so good. So we probably have some listeners. This may be your first time showing up today. We do this in front of a live audience inside the PFN community. If you want to be part of the People Forward Network community, go to peopleforwardnetwork.com. We've got a community page there and a link where you can sign up and join our community for People Forward leaders. And then also make sure you hit the subscribe button to Working Forward, where we have these conversations. And then we also put those over on one of our other shows that Nikki leads, Gut Plus Science. So you have a lot of different ways that you can stay connected, continue to hear these conversations, and grow and develop relationships with more people who give a damn about these type of topics and are trying to put it into place in the workplace. Nikki, it's been a blast.
Yes.
We'll see you next time.
See you next time.
Thanks for being part of this special Working Forward conversation. Want to join us live next time? Head over to bit.ly/PFN community to join our PFN community and become part of the conversation that's driving what's next in work and leadership. See you there.